I don't want my sons to ever see me in a light that I saw my father. I'm repeating my life as an adult. I went to counseling 15 years ago, and the counselor told me, man, your problem's not your dad. Your problem is your mom. And I'm like,
Yeah.
F you, dude. Like,
How could you have gotten it together when you really just didn't know? Daniel, welcome to the show. You're on with Hake, Joel, and Jesse.
Oh, wow. Mr. Jesse, it's an honor to actually get to talk to you, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
And let me start off by saying, hey, we're going to get that wall back up.
Oh, the wall's going up.
But hey, Mr. Joel, I think he hit it on the head. I think that's what Denzel was actually trying to say, that sometimes when you're on the right path, you're a threat to Satan because, well, I guess I can't really say you because, I mean, nothing seems to ever distract you or throw you off your game. But if you're paying attention to what God has in store for you, it seems like a lot of roadblocks, a lot of things start to come into your way to try to knock you off your path. And I think that's what he's saying. If you're already dwelling inside of the devil's work, he's already got you, so you're not a threat to him. He doesn't even have to pay you any attention. You're doing his work for him. But if you try to step outside of those bounds and you try to do the righteous thing, he's going to try to grab you and pull you back in.
Thank you.
At least cause a distraction. So I think Mr. Joel was right.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I thought I was going crazy.
And you agree with that too, Hake?
Say that again?
Oh, my God.
I was reading chats for and against Joel.
But
Will Smith.
But Mr. Jesse, I was calling because you always speak about forgiving your mother.
Yes.
And I've done that. But I actually, true story, before I even started listening to your program, I'd done it. And things did start to get better. But the more I listened to your show, and the more I started going back, because I was one of those kids who had a household where the father was out of bounds a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like I've had arguments and things with my wife, and I know you said that's just the evil nature of my mother inside of me. But and I can see how it affects my boy. I have two sons now, and I can see how it affects them. But in doing so, I realized the things that I thought I never actually saw my dad hit my mom, but I've heard the arguments, and my dad was a fighter, so in my head, I saw something with my ears, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And my whole life, I went around thinking that my dad was abusive physically, and now it's like, well, if my dad had one of those very, stern, deep, rich, aggressive voices when he was upset. So with hearing it, and my mom's she's not even 5 feet. She's a small woman, so you would just think that you know what's going on. But then also now, as I've gotten older and I get into it with my mom, well, I was getting into it with her a lot. I could see how she's kind of antagonistic, and she's kind of a holier than thou type personality at times.
Yeah.
And even trying to explain that, it starts an argument because it's, you can't tell me this. I know this. I know that. I was this and I did that. And I can see how, like, when my wife does, how I get upset. So it's like, well, if she's pushing his buttons and he gets like that, as a child, I'm only seeing little bitty mom versus the big bad wolf, because I've always known my dad. He's a fighter. He's an intimidating guy. You know what I mean? So like, your mind plays tricks. So I always believed she was always right. My mom would never do anything. And my mom did the best she could raising us. But she comes from a mother from a broken home. It's that same thing that you always thought. It's a trauma effect. And it just generation.
Yeah.
And now I'm at a point, because all of my siblings, we all have, I have three, that we all have something that's like her that has hampered a relationship.
You got her evil spirit.
And right. And one way or another, like the way that I do, and my mom clinged on to, well, I should say I probably clinged on more to my mom because I don't know why. But I was like in the beginning of my life, I grew to be an athlete, but I was more of an artist. I love to draw and I love to paint. And my dad was not one of the, like I said, my dad was a very macho guy. We're not doing that shit, excuse my language. We're not doing that. We're going to play football. We're going to do this,
That's right.
Like, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah.
And my mom always thought that, no, you like to paint. You paint. You're an artist. You be an artist. So I think that's how I got connected to her, is just off of that, like, she understands what I want to do.
Well, what it was, she was turning you against your father, and you didn't realize it when you were a kid.
And as I grow, she needed somebody, and I'm more like, I guess, I was just a kid who just wanted to have fun. I wanted to have friends. I wanted to hang. I just liked people. And I come from a multiracial family. Anyways, going back, but like I was saying, as I grew older, I started to see and listen to you more and more. I began to see things different. And not only that, but again, when I say I hated my dad, I hated him, and more so because I became a fighter. So I wanted to just be able to see how tough he really was. It was like, you could pick on a lady, but let's see what you could do with me. But the more I look back at it, everybody else talks about how much my dad loved his boys. He loved his boys. He loved his boys. He loved his boys. He loved his boys. And
fathers love their children. It's the mother who turned the fathers away from the children away from the fathers. Oh man. So, it just sucks to know that I hated somebody so long, and you start to. I can see myself in him a lot as I've gotten older, and it's just one of those things. I don't know how to forgive myself for hating somebody so much. And now as I'm growing older too, I've built out, so I look a lot more like him. So I can't even, you can't escape it. So every time you look in the mirror, it's like shit. Like I'm constantly reminded. And he passed when I was a kid. So man,
I never had the opportunity to ever, clear the air with him. And when it goes back to my mom, like I was saying, I forgave her. But the more I listen to you, the more I start understanding more of what happened with me, and it reignited like emotions of anger. And it's like, well, how do I? If you're saying forgive, do I go back to her now and have a true conversation and say why? Why I'm upset, or do I just leave it because I've already forgiven and just let it go? Like, what do I do from there?
How old are your sons?
Oh man, I've got a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Oh, okay. So have you gone to your mother and said, "I'm sorry for resenting you for turning me away from my father, impose your will on me"?
I've never said those words. No.
What did you say to her when you went to her?
When she was trying to have a conversation, I was like, "Look, there's no need. I forgive you for anything that you've done. There's no real need to go into detail and discuss it. I know that you were trying to do the best. It's just what you thought was the best wasn't best for me. You raised me to be a good person, but not a good man." And
she didn't raise you to be a good person either. She is evil. An evil person cannot raise another person to be a good person. That only comes from God.
Understood. Well, that's what it felt like. She was doing the best she could with what she knew.
Absolutely,
so,
I agree to that.
It's like I can't fault somebody for trying to do something they don't know how to do.
Right.
Which is the reason why I really felt so connected to you and what's the dude who passed, Kevin Samuels. I found out about him last year too. It's like you're giving people the hard truth and what they need, and it's like, hey man, I want to be a good. Before anything, I want to be committed to Christ, but I don't want my sons to ever see me in a light that I saw my father. And I just want to be the best man so that I could raise good men.
Well, here's what I recommend. Here's what I recommend. I would recommend that. So you went to your mother and told her you were sorry for resenting her, right?
I told my mom that, she was trying to have conversations with me. And like we clash, and like I said, the more now, and this conversation, let me say, it happened before I found your show. So
something in me wanted me to just put it to bed because I'm tougher on my boys, and she's a soft person, and she doesn't like the fact that I'm like, no, I'm not raising boys, I'm raising young men. If I keep seeing them as boys, I'm not going to give them the respect that they need in order to be out in the world.
Let me tell you,
she doesn't like that.
But it's not even her business. You need to keep her away from your sons because she's going to do to them what she's done to you. She will turn them against you. And she'll be giving them ice cream when you tell them her not to. She'll sneak and give it to them and tell them not to tell you.
Understood.
So you need to, but what I recommend that you go and do it right. I recommend you have a sit-down talk. Hey, mother, I really want you to know I've been resenting you. I realize now I resented you. I know now you did the best. You didn't have it. You did the best you could. I'm sorry for resenting you. And then God will forgive you, and He was going to change your heart from the anger to love, which is His love, real love. And then I would do the silent prayer and just start watching those thoughts, and they will be taken away from you.
What? All right, so let me say this too. All right, so her health isn't the best. So, it's like I'm stuck between trying to do that and trying to make sure that it doesn't cause more complications with her health.
No, you need to. If she's having bad health, you better hurry up and do it before she die. I will hurry up to that bedside, Mama. I know.
If I know that something could really hurt somebody, how is that a real benefit? Like if you're saying go and do it, and you know that it could damage somebody.
Because you're not responsible for how someone else feel, and your mother might not be ready to overcome her hell, and she'll use that against you to make you not forgive, and she'll die and leave you right in hell. You need to go and forgive her, and you're not responsible for her overreacting or reaction to it. That's on her, not you.
I understand. So just go to her and say, hey, listen, I forgive you for turning me away from my father?
Yes. Because
all right, go ahead.
That's exactly what she did to you.
And then but now what happens because she's going to combat that? Well, you don't understand this, and because she loves to give me. You ever talk to somebody, no matter what you do, there's no real, what do you call it? Well, they take full responsibility for what it is they did. It's always, well, let me tell you what happened. Well, let me tell you about this.
Absolutely.
Well, let me tell you about that. That happens, and see, that's where, as a person, I've never dealt with people who, listen, I don't if this is the end result, then this is the end result. Who, why, what, and when doesn't really matter.
Here's what I recommend. When she does that, don't argue with her about it. Be done with the conversation. Just say, I want to.
If I just leave it, how does that help me get it off my back? If I win,
it's gonna be taken off. It's gonna be taken off your back because God is gonna take it off because you have gone to her and forgiven her, and as you forgive her, God will forgive you, and the load will be taken off.
Okay.
No human being can take the load off. God take the load off. That's why He said, apologize when we are judging, when we're playing God, and He will forgive us. And so because He's done this to you, you've been resenting her, and that's what judgment is. So now you're apologizing for resenting her playing God. God will remove the load from your back.
Okay. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
And now that you understand what your father went through with her, because it was hard for him to deal with her. You didn't understand that at the time. And the fight was between the mother and the father had nothing to do with you anyway. But now that you understand your father's situation, you'll naturally forgive him and you'll be fine.
So I don't have to do anything as far as go up to the cemetery and pray down there with him or
no.
Okay.
Not at all. Just remember, just realize this is what my father was going through.
Well, then how do I forgive myself for, when I tell you, Mr. Jesse, I hated the man. Load.
I understand. Can you hold for me? Let me take a quick break.
Yes, sir.
All right, hold on. One thing I want to tell you about when you go and forgive your mother, have no expectation at all. Don't expect her to apologize. Don't expect her to admit anything or not to admit anything or not to apologize. You are only going to her to forgive her. God said that before you enter into the kingdom of heaven, you must go and forgive. And for you to enter into the kingdom within, you got to forgive. So you're just going there to say, hey, I'm wrong for resenting you. I'm sorry for it, right? And don't expect her, if she fall dead, there's nothing you can do about it. Or if she doesn't, or if she play game, let her have her own hell, let her own game, and you go live your life.
Yeah, but I mean, what dude wants to see their mom break down? Like, what do you do if your mom breaks down? You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do if you see that? Like,
you just watch her.
Looking at it?
Yeah, you just watch her like you're watching a movie. She's only acting out because she want to maintain control over you. That's not the real her doing it, but that's how she has been able to control everyone.
But that's kind of saying that people don't have emotions, and that they hear what you're saying and accept it as the truth, that it won't hurt them.
No, it will only hurt them if they don't want the truth.
You've never been told something and you're like, man, I didn't know that I caused that on you, and you feel bad that you caused grief or pain to somebody because it wasn't your intention?
I have, but I wanted to hear the truth, though. I didn't get mad at the truth for telling me that. I was glad to see it. And your mother will only get angry and break down if she doesn't want to hear the truth from you. But if you want to hear it, she's like, well, you're right, son. I did do that. I'm sorry. She's not going to break down because she's welcomed the truth. But if she breaks down, because emotions of human beings are evil, all human beings who have emotions, so-called good ones or bad ones, they are evil, and that's how they control you with evil emotions and thoughts.
So if she says, well, what did I do? So if I say, hey, listen, I want to forgive you for turning me away from my dad, and she says, how?
Well,
how
I want to forgive you. Just say, hey, mother, I'm sorry for resenting you for turning me away from my father. And I remember when my father wanted me to play football, but you wanted me to do art.
But is that wrong for her to want me to do what I want to do? Like not do what somebody else is saying I got to do?
But you were not, at the time, you were not doing what you wanted to do. You were doing what she wanted you to do, and she was turning you away from your father to prevent you from doing what he wanted to do, because in both ways you were not yourself yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, well, I've got two boys now, and one likes sports and one doesn't. One likes a lot of, like, arts, like I like art, and one doesn't. One likes being aggressive. Like, so it's the same. Like, my older brother was into sports early on.
Right,
like, so it's the same. Like, so should I force my both of my sons to do sports because one likes sports?
No, you shouldn't force either one of them to do anything like that. Let the ones that want to do sport. Let the ones that want to do art.
That's what my mom did, though.
But don't let your wife interfere to try to make them do what she want them to do and not what they want to do.
But that's what I'm saying. My mom was trying to say there's nothing wrong with me liking art, and if I like art, then do art. You don't have to play football. You don't have to.
But your father was wrong too for trying to make you do sport. He should not have imposed that on you. He should have left that let you make that decision as well as you got older.
Right, but my dad is one of those people. Hey, look, you need to be playing sports. Only punks do that type of stuff.
Right, but he was wrong for that, and that's why you have to forgive him.
Right, but then so that's saying that my mom isn't wrong, though.
Your about the art stuff?
Right.
So you said you told your mother you want to play art. I mean, you want to do art, and she said, "Okay, go do it."
Yeah, she was like, "Well, then stay inside and do your art, paint, color."
But that's not what you were forgiving her for. You were giving her for playing victim with your father, and also turning you away from him.
Yes. And
by making your father seem like the victimizer, when the battle that they were having was between the two of them, it had nothing to do with you at all. But the fight was with them and not you, and you should not have been a part of it in any form from your father or from your mother. Because you just wanted your parents. You didn't care about the fight.
True. But, okay, so, all right, so you know how they say you marry your mom. So I recycled the same, my home was broken, so I married somebody who had a broken home, and we're two people trying to figure it out with each other, but she has a lot of similarities to my. Now, let me make sure that I say this. She's an exceptional person. She's doing everything that she can to try to right her wrongs too.
Right.
But how do I all right, so there's been points in time where you know how like you have misplaced anger, so you're taking out what somebody else did on somebody else, or because they're doing things that remind you of what this person does.
Yes.
This is all like. And it's stuff that happened throughout our relationship. But again, after listening to you, I can understand I'm repeating my life as an adult. I'm repeating what I saw as a child, as an adult with my wife.
Right.
Like, so we're doing the same things that I saw happen in our house. How do I forgive myself and for putting my wife through that as well?
Well, I'm going to tell you that you are married to your mother. You married the woman you hated, and the cycle repeats itself, right? So here's, when you say your wife, is your wife working on herself as well?
Correct.
She like God and forgiving her mother and her father and all that?
As soon as I started, I did it last year before listening to you, and when I found you, I took it to when I was like, dude, you have to listen to this. He's saying exactly what I was saying when I did this beforehand. It was almost like, I don't know, like after doing it, I did feel a sense of energy, and my life started to turn for the better. The way that I approached everything started turning. So I was telling my wife this. And then after she listened to you, she went and forgave her mom, and then she called her dad and forgave him because of the same thing. And then we two together have been working and doing everything to try to make sure that we understand, we have a better understanding of each other.
Yep.
And man, it's been Mr. Jesse, you are a blessed. I just want to make sure I say that to you, because if I don't ever get to speak to you again, I'm so honored that I got to talk to you, and you do not know how much of a blessing you've been to my life, especially somebody who, I've had uncles and things like that. But what I've received from you over under this past year, I felt like I've grown leaps and bounds as a man, and I don't like to say Christian, but as a follower of God and Christ. And I thank you so much for what you've done for not only me, my wife, but our entire family.
Yeah.
Because I can see the changes in my oldest's energy.
Yes.
My son is still a little too young to really understand anything that goes on.
Right.
And man, that is a gift that I wish I could repay you somehow, but I will do God's work and put the energy back into the atmosphere, because you don't know how much you ministered to me. Going from beta to an alpha, and I truly I love my wife, and I love our family,
right
and I appreciate you for giving us the rightful order, because it's just like I kept telling her, no, God over Christ, Christ over man, man over woman, and she's coming to that and understanding that, and whatever I need, she's there. She's truly become that helpmeet that the Bible speaks of. And she's seen what she's apologized, because she's seen how her actions cause reactions and how the changes keeps on going. And every day, I wish you would have known us a good 8 months ago and see us now. And that's why I was coming to you about that, because now understanding and listening to you even more, and listening to other stories that people share,
and how they try to make excuses for what their mom did, because that was me. I went to counseling 15 years ago, and the counselor told me, man, your problem's not your dad. Your problem is your mom. And I'm like, F you, dude. Like, I'm telling you what my problem is. I'm telling you what I witnessed from growing up. You're not going to sit there and try to tell me my mom didn't do nothing. He's like, man, I hear you. Your mom is your problem. Man, F this, and never went back to counseling until maybe 7, 8 years later. And then once I started listening to you and somebody else says, it's like, all right, man, you can't, man, you kind of kick yourself like, man, if I'd have just followed those steps, 15 years ago, where would I be now? But I'm so honored to be able to be here now.
That's
I'm
right.
going to definitely take your advice.
Yeah.
And how do I get in touch with you guys, or do I get off the phone and then get in touch with counseling? I don't want to hold everybody else up. And anybody else on hold, I apologize.
If you want counseling,
for taking up so much time.
If you want counseling, you can call 800-411-2663, 800-411-BOND, or go to rebuildingdemand.com and request counseling, and someone will get in touch with you.
Awesome. And if I want one, can I get an autographed book? I'll pay for the book, but can I get an autographed book?
Absolutely. Go to rebuildingdemand.com, and you can order all the books there as well, and we'll get them out to you.
All right. I appreciate you so much, Mr. Jesse.
You're welcome. But let me tell you,
man. God bless, and thank you, and thank your whole staff, man. You guys are all incredible. I listen to you guys all the time. You don't know how much. If no one else ever tells you guys are truly a blessing in my life. I've gotten more out of these 8 months than any years of church that I've ever gone to. And I feel like a new person. I feel like I can do all things through Christ. And I thank you guys for redirecting my life
You're
to
welcome.
Christ. I truly mean that.
But
Thank all of you guys.
You're welcome, man. But let me tell you this before we hang up, all right?
Yes, sir.
You're fortunate in that your wife is working on herself as well, because it would be extra hard if your wife was not working on herself, or you were not working on yourself and she was working on herself, because the darkness in the person that's not working on himself will hate the light in the person that was working on himself, and say, well, always try to stop you. He'll come at you and do whatever he can to stop you. So you're fortunate is that both of you are working on yourself. And the other thing is, here's what I highly recommend for now. Number 2, don't go out preaching at everybody. Don't tell them. You just quietly work on you. And then when God is ready for you to tell someone, he will put the word in your mouth. He will cause your tongue to move and speak. He will speak through you, and it will be to the person or people that want to hear and overcome. Because if you can go out, and I know how you feel, if you go out preaching, you're going to run into a lot of sons and daughters of the evil, including in your family members and your so-called friends, and they're going to try to stop you. They will join forces to try to destroy you. They're not ready for it. You will only give the truth to those who are ready.
Yes, sir.
And then the other thing about with you and your wife, and even in your own mind, as of this point, I want you to encourage you to cut this out. Never argue with the devil in your mind, and don't argue with the devil in your wife or anyone else. Stop the argument. Do not argue. And they're going to be trying to... When you're fortunate that your wife is, so it sounds like she's working on herself, she might not put you through this, but the devil want you to argue. Do not argue anymore. And if your wife get angry, hey, honey, you need to cut out. You see your anger there? And you can point that out, but don't try to prove it to her or anyone. Don't yell at her about it. Don't argue about it. Cut out the argument. It's going to blow your mind, Daniel. It's because the devil loves to fight. He stay alive by fighting in your mind and in other people, in their mind as well. So cut out the fighting. You don't have to prove anything to anyone.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense?
All the sense in the world.
And then when the last thing you said before we went to break, that you hated yourself or you were angry at yourself or something?
Correct. like, yeah, like doing that with going against my dad again, and then you realize, and then again when I would get angry and all, I would just chalk it up to him, like he made me this way, and then I've always been like a fighter, not a bagger, but I hated bullies because I thought my dad was a bully.
Right.
So I was a reverse bully. I ended up being a bully technically because I went after bullies and always protected everybody in my family, and I always thought that my sense of strength was my anger. So I always fought against really releasing it because I thought that that's how I got my strength, was because I could tap into how much I hated him, and once I could get a hold of that, it's what gave me strength. But it made me a weak man because
Yes.
it made you too emotional. You know.
Yeah.
But that was the only way that I knew of a man. You know,
I understand.
so.
Yeah.
So I was doing what was missing, what I perceived in my mind, and all of the things you hear about your dad and the things that you did get to see of him. So I thought that is what a man. So if I did this, then I'm a man, and then you can't be like, he hated the fact that I was an artist because he thought that was soft. So I didn't want to be soft. So anybody in the outside world, nobody's going to ever be able to call me soft.
Right.
So
And
if
so
you think it, I'm going to show you that I'm not it, and I don't like that about myself. And then even having that aggression inside the house with my wife, like I just don't. It's not cool.
It was the same thing with your wife and your father, his wife. But let me ask, so you're angry at yourself about those things?
I'm angry at myself because I didn't get control of it earlier on, and I could have been living a better life. I've wasted so many years of my life.
How were you able to get it together when you didn't know? You didn't know. You did what you did, like your mother did what she did to you because she didn't know. Your father did what he did. How could you have gotten it together when you really just didn't know?
So there's a point in time, it's just like all sinners, where you know what you're doing is wrong, but you give into it anyway. You do it anyway, knowing that it's wrong.
That's a good point.
So it's like, I know that it's wrong, but for right now, F everything else, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to do what I want to do. I'll deal with the consequences tomorrow.
So let me ask you this.
We're going to do this today.
Let me ask you this because of time.
Yes, sir.
Who is the self that you're angry at? Describe you. Tell me the person that you're angry at.
I'm angry at myself for being too weak to not.
No, I mean, who is self? Who are you?
I don't quite understand the question.
Who are you? You say you're angry at yourself, right? Who is the person that you're angry at?
Well, I guess according to you, it's going to be my mom because
No, not your mother. You said you were angry at you. Who are you?
I'm angry at my actions, the things that I was doing, and the fact that I could have.
I know, but you said that you're angry at yourself, at you, right?
Correct.
Who is you?
I don't get that. Like, what do you mean?
Who are you?
I am Daniel.
That's your name.
I am a human being formed by two people.
That's you living in a body.
What is my evil? The evil nature?
No, I'm trying to understand.
I don't know. I don't understand this question, bro.
I'm trying to. You said you were angry at you. I'm trying to figure out who is it that you're angry at. Who is this person, this self that you're angry at?
I guess it's the facade of the person that I created to protect myself.
I know, but who are you, though? You
ego.
still didn't tell me who you... You told me your name. You told me you were a human being, living in a body.
I'm a child of God.
And what is that?
That is a spirit, a vibrational being.
But who is the self, though, that you're angry at?
My thoughts,
Are you your thoughts?
I act out my thoughts.
Are you your thoughts?
When I want to, yes, in a sense, if I want to
You're
be a
not
monster,
your
then I can
thoughts.
be a monster.
But that's not you. That's the hell in you. It's not you. That's the devil in you. So my whole point, because of time, I want you to know that it's impossible for you to be angry at yourself because there is no self to be angry at. That's another lie from evil who caused you to do the things that you have done, and then he caused you to feel guilty and angry at yourself to try to make you believe that it was you that did it. It was never you. It's no self to do it. It was always evil in your mind and emotion doing those things. In all honesty, Daniel, the real Daniel has never done anything wrong in your life. It's impossible for you to do wrong. You're not a sinner. You're not a saint. You're neither right nor wrong. You're not guilty or innocent. There is no you. You've always been listening to evil, calling it you, but it was never. So God is never holding anything against you because he knows it was always that illusion of the devil in your mind and emotions. You just didn't know it, and you were taking credit for what the devil was done. The real you is a free man. You're not guilty of anything, and there's no reason for you to be angry at all at yourself because you never done anything wrong.
Next oldest. Wow.
You never done anything wrong. You're a free man. You just don't know it, but you're on your way to understanding.
All right, and you always say when you become one again with Christ, then you like yourself. You say now you don't sin. Would I have to go back through another baptismal type thing in order to do that, or is that just me accepting God as my head?
No, you are born of the Spirit. You don't need to go back to the water. The water is just an expression of what's happening on the inside. If you continue to observe those thoughts, and so that he can take them away from you, so you can see clearly they're not you. If you continue to watch, stay present. God is always in your present. He's not in the future or the past because it doesn't exist anyway. But if you could just stay present, you're going to live paradise right here on earth because you're not a sinner. You haven't done it. You never done anything wrong. Christ came and he wiped away all of your sins.
Gotcha. And all right, and then two, like you said, since you marry your mother, do I forgive my wife too? Like, how does that work? If you say that you marry your mom, if I forgive my mom, does that automatically clear the air with me and my wife?
Do you? Yes, it does. Because now that you've forgiven your mother, you're going to see that you married your wife, and you're not going to hold anything against her now because you see what's going on. And seeing what's going on is what making you free from the hell that you've been living in.
Gotcha. And that'll automatically ripple effect to my boys.
Yes, sir. As long as your wife is working on herself and she doesn't turn your boys against you.
Got it.
So do the silent prayer. Stay with that. Forgive your mother. Mother, I'm sorry for resenting you. I realize now you turned me away from my father. And I'm sorry for resenting you. And don't...
So I'm apologizing.
For resenting her. That's the only thing. Salvation's of the heart, right? And
yes, sir.
All people have anger because all who are born through the mother are born into anger because the mother turned the children from the father, in return turning you away from God. And so you've been angry at her about that. Forgive her so that God can forgive you, and the rest is amazing.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Let me know how it goes, but do the silent prayer every day. Practice being present, and you're going to see, Daniel, you're going to have kingdom of heaven right here on earth. You don't have to wait until you die.
Sounds good. Can I just say one more thing? Can I just say, Carnes, Bills, Macho, I love you. Papa loves you.
Well, that's your voice?
That's my boy.
Right on. It's good to talk to you, Daniel.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
All right, buddy.
Amazing.
Amazing. Amazing.